Okay, I want to teach you how to do a beginner series of designing a bird that might not be in this book. This is the really easier side of it. And so, for instance, we're going to do Scarlet Tanager and base it off of the painted bunting. Okay, so this is the painted bunting. Alright, tail and everything. And then when you look at this picture, it wants to do that weirdness. Okay, so when you look at this picture, it looks like basically the basic shape and everything of the painted bunting. And also keep in mind, if you have a breed of bird that's in the book, a painted bunting is a bunting. So you can use it to make a blue indigo, you can use it to do all the different types of buntings, okay? This is your baseline, okay? Now in the book, I try to label what's your tail, what's that. Okay, so maybe the back side is orange, the underbelly is red, and the tail is orange, and then there's green, and then switches to yellow. Okay. You'll follow the wings, actually, looks like, in order to do the Scarlet Tanager. So I had it to green, and then I switched up to yellow. I have it in black here, and we'll switch up to red. The tail is black, but the body is red. And the beak looks to be the same color. Okay, so what you can do is follow the painted bunting pattern pretty much, except you won't have to do a half and half on the body. It's just going to be red all the way. Okay, so I've printed out my painted bunting because I don't have the book printed out just yet. So I printed out just the body. So reason I didn't incorporate the tail. I have to look that up. I think the tail's like 9. Okay, so I'll write that in real quick. Alright, so we're going to start off with black, and we're going to follow the tail. And I'll have to write it in because I didn't print it out with the tail on it. So let me write that out real quick. So the tail is flat. The tail is done flat, and it's done with the black, but on the actual thing it's orange, so but we're going to do black. Okay, and you're going to do the skip 2 and then cast on 9, and it's a chain cast on 9, and then you're going to do your first row is a knit, and then you're going to do rows 2 through what, 15? 15. Slip 1, then purl 1, knit 1 to end. Okay. Alright. So we know that much. Alright. Alright. I had gotten that much. So, and then it tells you the instructions there. Then you start with the body, and with the body, you are going to stick with red. And the thing is when you stick with red, you just need to know you're not going to be changing to orange. So row 3 is probably just going to be a knit red, just completely. Okay. So when you keep this in mind, you're just going to take out the orange, and it's going to be red. Okay. So take out the orange and make it red all the way across until you're doing your feet. Your feet can stay gray. Okay. Excuse me. So your feet can stay gray. The beak is gray. So I'm just going to follow this pattern to the T. All I'm doing is changing the colors. Alright, and this allows you to design a new bird. Okay, and I want you to keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm trying to provide as many different shapes as possible so that you can work up your own bird. Alright, and this is the beginner level of designing. So you're going to take this painted bunting and you're simply going to make it a Scarlet Tanager by changing the color. How easy is that? So you need black, and you need red, and you need a gray, which I might have to go hunt one down. Okay, and a gray. So we're going to start off with our tail. This series is going to be nowhere near as long as the peacock. The peacock was your more advanced. You had to kind of improvise some too. Okay, so what you want to do is you take and you skip the first two, 1, 2, and you start your cast on peg 3. And you chain on 9. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And your first row is a knit. Okay. So I hope you're understanding that this is actually really simple to change up the pattern to create a completely new bird breed. So this is a beginner level where you take a pattern that's basically the shape of the bird and you just change colors. And I do try to incorporate, like the tail is usually labeled, the body is usually labeled, and bodies are usually started from back here and worked forward. And what they're usually done is a half and half. So the half that gets started first is bottom half, then the top half. Okay, that's the other thing to keep in mind. So usually you start with the bottom half, and then you work the top half. You know to change color if you need to. Okay, so I usually start there, and I usually say where there's a foot. So I usually state where the feet are. So you have an idea of where your gauging is between your feet. If there's a color you need to change in there shortly after the feet or that kind of thing, that gives you a gauge where your feet are. So if you look at the book, you look at the picture in the book and you know that I'm holding the feet here, you know that if you need to do a color change, it could come shortly after that. Okay. I usually try to label where. So shortly after the feet, I start doing the chest area, so you know that. And then I label my head area. And on most of the birds, the head is done this way. Okay, and so that's how most of them are done. Some of them are not. The peacock was done in 2 halves. Some is done from the bottom half up and around. Okay, some of them are done from the bottom half and up and around. Just keep that in mind where the pattern is, okay? But I usually label the head, and I usually label when I'm doing the beak, so you know when to start the beak. And so you know where these color changes are, because I've tried to label where the beak is. So I've labeled where the beak is when you start the head. Shortly after the feet, you know you're working your chest. This is how I design. This is how I go about making this much more simplistic. So these gauges are here. They tell you. Okay. So we've done our chain cast on 9, and we've done our first row of knit. Okay. Now, what we want to do is do the slip one, and then you're going to purl one, knit one all the way across. Okay, the purl one, knit one all the way across, and then you're going to do the slip one and then purl one, knit one for 15 rows, and this is going to be your first row. Okay, and the last one is always knit, and then you slip one, and then you purl one, knit one. And you're going to do this for 15 rows, okay? So go ahead, pause video, complete your 15 rows, and then have your red ready so that we can start on the body, alright? But this is as simple as that. You can do a indigo blue bunting, and you can do it the same method. It's the same breed of bird, so that's the easy thing, and I think it works pretty much the same. I think its wings are black like the Scarlet Tanager, and the tail is black, and then the rest is blue. I mean, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. You can just do this one in blue and black, and so it's actually really not that difficult. So go ahead and pause the video and complete 15 rows, and then we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, I've done my 15 rows. You see I've got my tail. Keep in mind I use this technique a lot. So where I do the tail and then I cut it, leave it, and work it in later. Trust me, it makes it easier. Okay, we're switching to red. Try to keep the tail out here. That way when you actually get to it, you can kind of knot it off. Alright, so what I want to do now, as it says in the pattern, chain cast on 24 in red. Go ahead, we're starting in red, so that's no different there. Okay, so if you were doing a, say, blue indigo, you would just chain cast on in blue. You're going to chain cast on all 24, and you're not going to touch those tail feathers, and I instruct not to touch tail feathers until I tell you to. Okay. Then I like to keep that tail out here so that when I go in and I'm ready, I can knot it when I'm ready to do it. Okay. So I want you to keep that in mind when you're making these birds, that there's a C more than you can do, because I can only do so much for these books because I have a family I take care of, and so I try to provide you with as much ability and knowledge to go in and make your own birds, because this has been a really fun journey on making the birds, and on the last leg actually. Okay, I usually just do that one, just put the loop on that, crosses over better. Okay, so then it says to just knit a row, so we can just knit the row. Reminding ourselves not to touch those tail stitches. Sorry if I'm getting a little too far back here. So I've chain cast on all of them. Okay, now it starts a short row section on row 2, where you knit 11 wrap and turn, knit 10 wrap and turn, knit 9 wrap and turn, knit 8 wrap and turn, knit 7 wrap and turn, knit 6 wrap and turn, knit 5 wrap and turn, knit 4 wrap and turn, knit 4. And then it says to change color, but we don't have to change color, so we can mark that out entirely. We don't have to change color. Okay, so let's start there. So we're going to knit 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, wrap and turn. And then knit 10 wrap and turn. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, wrap and turn. You wrap behind the peg and in front. And then knit 9, wrap and turn, knit 8, and you do this all the way down to 4. So I'm going to have you continue the wrap and turn until you have 4 single stitches between your wraps and turns. So go ahead and pause the video and complete that much. Okay, so here's our wrap and turn. You see all these wraps and turns? Okay. So there should be 4 wraps and turns, 4 single stitches, and 4 wraps and turns. Alright. So the next thing we see is it tells you to start adding the tail stitches in. This is where you start adding these stitches. Okay. This is what that means. So first thing you're going to do is knit 2 together 4 times. So there's 1, and then there's 2, and there's 3, and then there's 4. And then you're going to knit 3 together. See, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Then you're going to knit 5, knit 3 together. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then knit 3 together because you're adding in all them tail stitches now. And then you knit 6, knit 3 together. Okay. Here's your knit 3 together. And then knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, knit 3 together. And then knit 8. And when you knit 8, you knit 2 together. Okay. When you knit 9, you knit 2 together. So when you knit 9, you're going to knit your last 3 together. You knit 3 together, and here's where you can tie off. Just go do a couple of half knots, shove it in the middle. Alright, then you're going to knit 10, knit 2 together, and then you knit 11, knit 2 together, and then you knit 11. Okay, and you knit 12. So you'll see that it says to change color to orange and knit 12. Well, all you're going to do is you're going to knit all the way over. Okay. So there's your knit 2 together. And then you're going to knit 11. Knit 2 together, and then knit 12. Okay, so when you see that, you know, the change color orange, knit 12, just knit 12 back to starting point. Okay. When you're doing a solid color, you're not doing any color chunking, as I call it. So you just knit yourself back to starting. Okay, so at this point, then it says to basically knit all the way around for rows 4 through 6. You're not changing any colors, so you're just knitting around. So when you don't have any color changes, you're just continuing the same direction, okay? And I want you to keep that in mind. It's just continuing the same direction. Don't let that confuse you, okay? So go ahead and pause the video, and what is that? 4, 5, 6, 3 rows. Go ahead and knit for 3 rows, and we'll come back and do row 7. Okay, so pause the video and knit for 3 rows. Okay, so this is what it should be looking like. All right. So we've done here, and then we've done here, and then we've done here. So we're now on this row. So this is to where we're at. Okay. At this point, we're not changing colors, so you need to just keep in mind you're working in the same round. So if you see change color to orange, you don't have to change the color. You're going to knit 12, and then you're going to knit 4 for the foot. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. And then you're starting on the next section where you're going to knit 4, and you've not changed colors. You're going to knit for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then it says foot, okay, and change color to gray. So what we're going to do is we're going to change color. But we're not going to cut that red, okay? So don't cut the red. Just tie on that new color. And you'll want some stitch markers. And on the next 2 stitches, on these next 2 stitches right here, so you see I've tied it on, I've just done this. The next 2 stitches here, place a stitch marker on this peg and this, on this stitch and this stitch, okay? Now, what it says to do is to change color to gray and to knit 2 for 15 rows, okay? So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can knit for 15 rows, just 2 straight out 15 rows, or you can do a slip 1, knit 1 for 14 rows, because you got to do the knit 2 first. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It is okay that you have finished over here. What it says is to bring the original loops back up. That's where you bring those stitch markers back up and put them on their correct pegs. Okay. Then it says to change color to red, which means you just pick up your red Okay, you just pick up your red and you knit 2 together 2 times. There's 1 and 2. Okay, that completes a foot. Then it says to do another foot. So you just pick up your gray here and you do another one, just like what we just did. Make sure to put a stitch marker on the stitches before you start. So pause the video, complete another foot like we just did, and then go ahead and when you are done with the foot, knit 4 over, and that completes row 7, and we're ready to do rows 8 through 12, okay? So pause the video, complete another foot, and then knit your way to the starting point, and we will be going to the next section. Okay, and so you should have your 2 feet. And all you do is tie off that gray once you finish your second one. So there's your 2 little feet. You can see. Okay, now on here we are on row 8 through 12. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5 rows. So you want to just knit for 5 rows so you don't have that color change. And you just knit for 5 rows. Okay, so just knit around and around for 5 rows. Pause the video, complete that much, and we'll come back and be working on row 13, which has a wrap and turn about it, which means you're starting to create this section here of the bird. Okay, so we'll have a wrap and turn section, and it's going to be a repeat. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm not going to show repeats. I'm going to tell you to just repeat it when I get started on the section. But right now, go ahead and knit for 5 rows, and we'll come back and do row 13 through 16. Okay, so we're done with that, and this is what you should have. And so our next section is rows 13 through 16, which is going to be repeated. So we need to know that we don't have any color changes there. Okay. So there's no color changing anywhere. So we're going to knit our way around. So it says knit 12 and then knit 11. So basically you're going to knit 23. Right? So you just add that up. You knit 23. And then you're going to wrap and turn. So you're going to knit all the way around practically short of 1 peg because you're working with 24 pegs. And you're going to stop. And it says to wrap and turn. Okay, so we're creating our chest area for this bird. And we're going to be repeating this row, so keep that in mind. This is how you transfer something that has color chunking to a solid color. You keep working in the same direction. Okay, so we've knitted 23 and you're going to wrap and turn. And then it says to knit 10. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, wrap and turn. Okay. So we're going to wrap and turn down to 8. So which is only going to be 2 wraps and turns. We're going to do another wrap and turn over here. And then another wrap and turn over there. And I like to do what I called a double wedge heel kind of thing a lot with this. It keeps there from being a lot of holes showing up in the body where you have to do corrections and that kind of thing, and I don't like to do corrections. Okay. So you have 2 wraps and turns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 single stitches. And after you do that wrap and turn, it says to knit 8 and then knit 2 together 2 times. So there's your knit 2 together. 2 times. Then you go to row 14, which says to knit 12, but then it'll say to knit 10. That's because you're going back this way. Well, you don't have to do that. You're going to knit 2 together. So where you see that knit 2 together, you need to just understand that you're going to switch them. So you have to switch it. So where you knit 12, then you knit 2 together 2 times, and this can kind of trip you up. But don't let it trip you up. If you've done the one thing on one side, you typically do the other thing on the other side, because you don't want a lopsided bird. Alright, so there you go. That one gets flipped, okay? And then you just knit your way back to your starting point, because you had a knit 10 in there, right? Okay, so work what makes sense. Okay, where's that knit 2 together at 2 times? When you see that, that's where you go to. So you know you're going to knit around, and then you're going to knit 2 together 2 times, and then knit 10. You find where the adjustment is. Okay, and then on rows 15 and 16, which is 2 rows, you're going to knit for 2 rows, okay? And then you're going to repeat this all over again. Knit 23, wrap and turn, knit 10, wrap and turn, knit 9, wrap and turn, knit 8, wrap and turn, knit 8, knit 2 together 2 times, move to the next row, knit 12, knit 2 together 2 times, knit 10, and then knit for 2 rows. So you're going to repeat this whole section that we have just done again, and then we will have one more section, and then it starts the head, okay? So I am going to complete one more row of knit, and I'm going to tell you to pause the video and complete rows 13 through 16 again, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to start row 21 through 23. Okay, so pause the video and get that much done. Okay, so we're to row 21, and it says change color to yellow. Well, we aren't changing color to yellow. So it has knit 12, and then change color red, knit 11, which means you're doing a knit 23 again. And you're wrapping and turning again, but instead of down to 8, you're getting down to 6. Okay, so this should seem familiar. Shouldn't be too bad. So we're working a similar thing. So we're going to knit our way all the way around to just before our last peg on this row. And that's when we start our wrap and turn, right? Because we've done this before. Okay. So working our way around. Alright, so you wrap and turn, because that's your last peg. That's where you've knitted 23. You're going to knit 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, wrap and turn. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you to do is pause the video and knit your way down to where you have 3 wraps and turns, 6 stitches, and 3 wraps and turns. Just go ahead and pause the video and get down to that much, and then we will go from there. Okay, so we have 3 wraps and turns here. We'll knit 6. And then it says knit 2 together 3 times. So here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. Then we move to row 22, and it says to change color, which we're not doing. And then it says to knit 9, knit 2 together 3 times. You know you need to switch that up, because that's the only way that's going to work, right? So you knit 12, and then you knit 2 together 3 times, and then knit 9. And that's how that works up. So that's how that changes it. Okay, so you have knit 2 together 3 times, 1, 2, and 3, and then you knit 9. And then it says you're going to knit a row. Remember, you're not changing colors. At this point, you're going to be starting on your head. And so you just knit your row. Okay, so we know we just need to take out that changing color business. And we're going to be starting on our head. And it says to change the color to blue, and we know we don't have to change color because Scarlet Tanager head is red. This makes it so much easier to keep up with. Okay, so if you get a lot of color change, this is how you just remove it. Look at your picture. It's the importance of the picture. You look at your picture and you see where those adjustments need to be, and where placement of that color is tells you where it is on the bird. Okay. All right. So we are on the head and we're not changing color. It says to knit 12. We're going to knit 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Next it says to slip 1, knit 11 from 25, 29. So 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So 5 rows. So what that means is you're going to slip your first stitch. You're going to start working flat and knit your way over. So there's 1. And then slip the first stitch, and this is 2. And you want to make sure you're knitting that last stitch and slipping the first stitch of each row so that you have a chain to bring and make the head round. Okay, where you work it back around. Alright, so you're going to do this for 3 more rows. So pause video, complete 3 more rows, and then we'll have a wrap and turn section to do. I need to make a note to start working flat there. Okay. Alright, so going to start working flat there. Alright, so go ahead and complete a slip 1, knit 11 for 3 more rows, and then we'll be ready to do row 30. And this is where I'm going to tell you there's going to be a repeat. And so we're going to do like we did with the chest area, and you're just going to repeat it. So I'll show you how to do it, and then you repeat it again. Okay, so pause the video, complete your 3 more rows of slip 1, knit 11, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we're to row 30, and row 30, 31, 32, and 33 all get repeated. So keep in mind when I'm showing you this section from here over will be repeated. I'm going to let you know that. So you're going to slip 1 and knit 9, wrap and turn. So slip 1, knit 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and wrap and turn. You're going to be wrapping and turn down to 4. Okay, so then you're going to wrap and turn it and knit 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wrap and turn. You're going to keep wrapping and turning until you're down to 4. So okay, so we've wrapped and turned down to 4, and then it says to knit 4, knit 2 together 3 times, knit 1. So knit 4, then knit 2 together 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then knit 1. This moves us to row 31, where you slip 1, knit 7, knit 2 together 3 times, and then knit. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, and then knit 1. And then you're going to knit for 2 rows. So slip 1, knit 11, slip 1, knit 11. Okay. And then you're going to repeat this all the way over again. Okay. From the beginning of this section. So slip 1, knit 11. Alright, so repeat from row 30 to row 33 again. And then we will be working on what I call the beak row. You'll need your color change again where you got your gray. Okay, so pause the video, complete rows 30 through 33 again, and then we'll be ready to start row 38. Okay, so we've completed that again, and this is what you should be seeing, a curvature of the head. Alright, so what we want to do is keep in mind we're fixing to do a beak, and we want our color again. So what we want to do is it says to slip 1, knit 3. So slip 1, knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I have bring original loops back on pages 1 and 4. Kind of look in advance when you're doing this. So you want to put a stitch marker on peg stitch 1 and 4 at the beak. Okay, and that way you know what to bring up. Bring back up. Again, don't cut your red. You're just going to pick it right back up. I don't like cutting and adding as little as possible. Okay, so we're working the next 4, or is it 5 pegs? 4 pegs. So we're working the next 4 pegs. Alright. So you're going to put a stitch marker on this stitch and this stitch. So pegs 1 and 4. Alright, so put a stitch marker on those stitches. And then what it says is to knit for 4 rows. So we're going to knit for 4 rows. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then it says knit 3, knit 2, knit 3. So knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Then knit 2, 1, 2. Then knit 3, 1, 2, 3. Then it says to knit 4 for 4 rows. So back to 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bring original loops up back on pegs 1 and 4. So we're going to bring original loops back up 1 and 4. Then you're going to pick up your red, which says change color back to blue. Obviously, we're changing back to red. And then it says to knit 2 together, knit 2, knit 2 together. So here's your knit 2 together, knit 2, and then knit 2 together. And I cut that off tie it off. And then knit 4. And that is row 38. No, wait a second, we're not quite done yet, are we? No, we're doing wraps and turns. Okay, so then we're going to change color, knit 2, 1, 2, wrap and turn, knit 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wrap and turn. And then you're wrapping and turning down to 4. Okay. So we're going to wrap and turn down to 4. Okay, we've wrapped and turned down to 4, and then it says to knit 4, knit 2 together 3 times, knit 1. So there's your knit 4, knit 2 together 3 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, knit 1. Slip the first stitch on rows 39, and it says to slip 1, knit 7, knit 2 together 3 times. I need to make a note of that. There's that, yeah, 3 times. 3 times, and then knit 1. Okay. So knit 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Knit 2 together 3 times. Knit 1. Okay. Then you do 2 rows of slip 1, knit 11. So slip 1, knit 11 2 times, and then we're ready to finish off our head. Here's 1, and here's 2, and then we're ready to finish off our head. Okay. Okay, now, so you have your beak here. Try to set your stitches so you have more of a point there. Okay. Now, what you want to do next, it says gather chains. And what that means, whenever it says gather chains, stretch that out. See if I can't get this in camera. Red's a little harder, but you'll see all these chains. What you want to do is start gathering from the closest to the peg and the furthest away. So start here and work your way around. Okay, so I'm working my way around, and yes, you can try to do this with a crochet hook where you send the working yarn through. But I find this is just the easiest method. Okay. Then what I do is wrap it around, and when you see like knit 9 together or something, you're just knitting all your chains together. I tried to count them out, but I think it can vary. Then you're going to knit your way over to just before the other side, and you're going to do the same thing again. So, do the same thing again. You're just picking up the chain. Sorry if I'm a little out of screen. I'm trying to see my chains to put them on. Two more, I think. Okay. And just start knocking them over. There we go. Okay. At this point, it says to do a weave in bind off. This is where I get me a long tail. This was the last one. So I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to toss the loop over and pull through. And I'm going to go back when we just did, toss the loop over, pull through. Then go to the other side. So if you've done the Kitchener cast on, it's kind of like that where you're weaving back and forth. But this time you're tossing the loop over and pulling the tail through. Okay, so you're going to do this all the way around. So go ahead and pause the video and complete this all the way around, and then we'll be ready to stuff and finish up. Okay, so pause the video and complete that much, and then we'll be ready to stuff and that kind of thing. When it comes to the wings, you'll want to follow the instructions, but instead you go in and you do black first, and then you change to red when it says to change to red. That's how easy that is. So if you want to go ahead and finish up this, do your wings, and then what we can do is try to assemble it all and everything like that and finish this up. And that'll be a lesson in beginners designing on how to change up a pattern that already is there. You just need to change the color. Okay, so this is like really simple changing. I'm going to do an intermediate one where you just use a couple of patterns. There isn't a whole lot of alteration to it to make the magpie. So if you felt comfortable with this, check out the intermediate, and you can check out the advanced and see what you think of that. But go ahead and weave in the bind off. Go ahead and do your wings. Again, follow the pattern where you change for yellow, change to yellow, change to red. Okay, so start with black and then change to red. And that should cover you, and we'll be ready to kind of assemble everything. If you want to know what that is, let me tell you real quick, since we're going to be doing a lot when we come back. Okay, so if you're following along and you go to the closed wing pattern, what you want to do is change color to yellow when you have done, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to change color to red when you've done 14 back and forth, you'll know what I'm talking about. So when you've done 14 stitches, when you keep adding, when you've done 14, change to red. Okay, so start with black, change to red when you've done 14 stitches. And of course that's almost done because it's a 15 stitch wing. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, weave in, bind off, do your wings, black, start with black. When you've done 14 stitches, change to red, finish up the wing. Okay, the wing video will be below. Okay, and then we'll assemble it. All right, so get that much done and we'll come back and finish up. Okay, so you can see I've done my wings, I've got my body done, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and close up that head area. I usually like to start in the middle when I do that pulling. Okay, now we want to start stuffing. And you don't want to stuff too firmly, because when you do, it ends up being too much. So the trick is to figure out how to stuff not too little, not too much, just the right amount. Typically you don't want your stitches to bulge. You do it right. Okay. And that's how I generally go about it. I don't want your stitches to bulge. Okay. Now, what I like to usually do is smash, because the polyfill is going to settle. Okay. So then I'm going to smash that. Okay. Now I need a little more polyfill to start the back end. That's where I'll be sewing up. Okay. But first things first, I want to sew up the head area, which is not difficult. Okay. Got a nice long tail. Go ahead and close that up down here. Make sure my other side looks good. Looks good. Okay. Now what I want to do is create my eye areas that are cinched. And I'm going to do this a couple of times to really cinch the eyes in. Try to find the similar space. So go over a little. It's not exact because you're creating indentation is what you're creating. And when you do that, you're just kind of getting a general area. And it makes a huge difference to the look of the bird, okay, to do this. It really does. So while it doesn't seem like it's much, it's not that hard to go about doing. Okay. Alright. And here's where shaping comes in. Okay. I think I like the look of that. And don't really want to do a whole lot of cutting, so I'm going to try to get that needle down here at the bottom to sew up. So, Now, I have been one when I do this to do the Kitchener cast on, but because it's a lot more complicated and you have to work through strands, I don't typically show it. But on most of them, I did that. I did the Kitchener cast on. Mostly because I think it looks better. It has a cleaner look about it. So, what you'll want to try to do is tighten it as you go. Okay. So, I usually do the chain across from each other. And tighten as you go. When you get over here, if you need to stuff more, that will be the time frame to do it in. Okay, so do about 3 stitches. And then tighten. Okay. Doesn't look like I'm going to need to stuff anymore. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. But then again, I've done this for almost 40 birds. And I've been doing stuffed animals for decades now, so I'm pretty seasoned at it. But it is an art form to be able to stuff just the right amount, not too much, not too little. Okay. Alright. So, we have that sewn up. You can tie that off. And then I'm going to send that through. Okay. And you might want to crochet hook to send that other little bit through. And okay, you go into the shape. A little more point to that. Here, see, creates more point. Okay, so you just sit here and you shape until you have it about the way you want. And it looks like I have it about where I want. Okay, so at this point, you're going to sew on your wings. And you see what that turned out looking like. And if you're interested, I usually hot glue on the eyes. I got one of these kits. And what you do is when you have these multiple sizes, you just kind of gauge what eye size you want to use. So, I may go larger. I thought the eyes of the Tanager were kind of big. Yeah, I'll go to the larger size. You sit there and you mess with it until you find the size that you want. If you're planning on making a lot of them, I would suggest getting that kit. If not, don't worry about it. Okay, so at this point, you want to just sew it up. Okay. So usually it's going to kind of line up somewhere in there. And then once you line it up, just start sewing it down the body. Okay. And this is where you want to pay attention to your imagery. Sometimes wings cross up. If they do, get them to cross up and that kind of thing. So don't hesitate to use references and pictures because they're helpful. Okay. So you sew that one on, you sew this one on, like this, and then you hot glue your eyes on, and I think that's all you need for the Scarlet Tanager. There wasn't anything special with the Scarlet Tanager. Okay, so what this means, and I'm going to try to incorporate a list at the end of each pattern, is you can use the painted bunting for the blue indigo or the Scarlet Tanager or a number of different birds in that department. So what you want to do, if you want to do something where you don't have to change up the base pattern, you just have to change up the color, look for the general shape. And if the shape matches another breed of bird, which I'll put in there the different breeds that it'll match up to, then you can go in and work up your own. The intermediate will show you how to take little bits, maybe 2 patterns, and work up a pattern. So, but that is how you take the painted bunting pattern, very beginner, and change it into a Scarlet Tanager. And you can take this base thing here and make a blue indigo by simply making it blue. And doing it that way. So don't hesitate to take these patterns and work your own birds that you found up. I'm trying to help out as much as I can on providing options, but it's important for you to know that this is a pattern book that has all the elements that I could possibly give you to create a number of birds. So I was really trying to offer that wide range, and I do think that that has been accomplished in this book. So do not hesitate to take these patterns, plug and take bits and pieces and make different birds, okay? But that is how you go at a beginner level to take a pattern, simply change the color, and you can make a different bird. Okay, so that is how you make the Scarlet Tanager from painted bunting pattern.